Hello and welcome to another video. So today we're taking a look at a Bat Blood deck for Unlimited. This deck I had some ups and downs with, I've got to say. I like the idea of the deck, although it definitely burns out very easily, and you will really be pushing to get that last damage, especially in the Unlimited format where a lot of players are going for more control-ish or mid-range decks, where aggro decks just don't seem to be as competitive right now. At least as far as these kind of aggro decks go. If you are playing something like Sword or that, you could do a lot better, honestly, and I plan on having some more Unlimited videos coming up soon as well. We've just got a few that I want to plan out covering, and hopefully you guys can enjoy that. So this should be a pretty quick video. Other than that, we're going to get right into it and check it out. So I found for the most part with this deck, you're really tipping the edge of what you can do. Most of the time you're only just winning matches, meaning you're using your resources and just barely having lethal. There would definitely be better ways to go about this deck, so I definitely don't recommend it if you don't already have the cards for it. It's just one of those decks that looked interesting to me and fit what I wanted to play, but didn't actually perform quite as well as I would have liked it to. In approximately, we'll say 8 games, I won 3, so it's definitely not the highest win rate deck for sure. And I did have a lot of trouble getting those wins, so like I said, definitely not something you want to be playing. But overall this has been okay, so Summon Bloodkin, pretty nice. Being able to go pretty early with the Summon Bloodkins do work in your favour quite a bit. They do present a nice bit of board. Lionhaven actually is one of the better Haven classes to fight. Tenko can be a bit of a trouble in Unlimited when it comes to their massive amount of low cost heals that they just don't really have in rotation as much. I mean, the 2-drop heals really hurt when they're followers. They really build the board and heal the opponent, so that can be hard. This one on the other hand, we're doing quite well. We've already built up a reasonable stack of damage. We've developed our board quite nicely, and it's early enough that Haven's going to have trouble clearing it. So as I said, these will be a pretty quick video, honestly. This is going to be kind of like a mini video, you could say. So overall, board's developed nicely. Of course, the opponent hasn't really played much in the way of counter right now. Father of Punishment's okay, but there's probably better cards out there. Another Sealed Tomb, not really an issue for us. We can quite comfortably have 5 damage on this board, or we can decide to go for the Vania play. Either one would have been suitable, but we do decide to go for the 5 damage as it is going to put us ahead a little bit extra. We are out of range of using Vania in the most effective way possible. Normally you want to use it as a Storm with an Evo to get the 5 damage, but the 2 damage off Vania normally isn't bad either, so Spheric Blade kind of ruining any hopes I had at that. But they do decide to at least go and develop the full board. So now it's just a matter of picking off those last few damage we are going to need. And that shouldn't be too difficult. I mean, we've got some cards that can deal with stuff like this pretty well. We're going to be able to kill off this entire board, play our Disagreeable Demon, have that be buffed up to a 4-3, which is half their current health total. Which this kind of Lion deck doesn't tend to run much healing. And considering we have put ourselves a little closer to our Vengeance, we should be okay. There's the Hollow Dogma, definitely looking to pick something off, get the really lucky kill on the 1-1, avoid killing anything too big, which is nice. And we get a pretty decent hand, honestly. I mean, I do decide to go for the Vania now, as it does present a nice body and 2 damage, along with the extra little bat, which could come in quite handy, as all we need to do is maintain that bat and have something to target with Snarling Chains, and then we should win the match. And the opponent does a pretty good job of dealing with this, honestly. Unfortunately for them, they do leave up the 1-1 and give me a target for Snarling Chains. We also could have won off the Vampiric Fortress and Summon Bloodkin. If I had have played those out, we also would have won that one, which is nice. So I did at least have an alternative. This next matchup is against Dragon, and it is a very close matchup. It was right down to the wire on whether I was going to be able to win this match in particular. We started off with a very heavy hand with 2 Vanias and a Gift of Bloodkin. Gift of Bloodkin usually is better to use when you have something like Raven or normal Vania on board to really take advantage of its effects. If you're playing it straight out normally, it's not quite as nice, although it can be a good way to reach that extra 1 damage you may need to win a game. So the opponent doesn't really go for much, which is a little disappointing. We just take the draw. No real reason not to at this point. Restless Parish I still like a bit. It's definitely an more awkward card than I wanted it to be, but Nightfall does do a good job at generating bats. I don't tend to use the damage heal much, although I definitely want to be able to experiment with that card more in a more control-y variant of Blood, which hopefully I'll get to cover eventually. It just comes down to, do I have the cards to do it? So we do go for double Nightfall. I also add the red just so I can deal with the 2/2 there. I didn't want to have to leave that up, and this way I'll be generating bats, at least for the next couple of turns. And they also have Storm due to being summoned at the end of my opponent's turn and not at the start of mine, which is really good. So we get plenty of bats. Going to my turn, I've now got 3 Storm bats and a free board slot. Snarling Chains does a pretty good job, but not quite enough, so add 1 bat, give us a Raven. We don't lose any damage this turn overall, and we get at least 1 Raven out. And it's almost guaranteed that at this point our opponent's going to want to clear at least 1 card here, if not all of them, so I think we've definitely made the right decision. And Phoenix Rider, so they do decide not to clear anything, which is a pretty interesting one, although we're already at 10 health, which means they are knocking us down to 3, which is quite a big hit to take, especially when fighting Dragon. So we're definitely going to want to focus on getting that Queen Vania and use it to our advantage. Getting that heal is going to make a huge difference. We also get a nice little ward up, so that's definitely the only way I had a chance at surviving this. I do decide to hold off on the Gift of Bloodkin though, even though I do have a free board slot. I wanted to avoid giving them a potential way to deal with this ward effectively, so I felt like that was definitely the best play. And now we actually get a chance to use double Raven, so we can ping them down a little bit and build a huge board. Again, I do avoid using Gift of Bloodkin and instead decide just to waste the Summon Bloodkin, as I don't want to take any unnecessary damage at this point in the board, knowing what our opponent has. Because at this point, it would be really dangerous. They do go for the Blazing Breath, which means they don't have the immediate kill on me, especially if Effie's at play there. They do, unfortunately though, manage to limit our damage down to 3 from hand right now, which is a huge risk for me to play. So I unfortunately draw absolute garbage there, absolutely useless honestly. I haven't had much use for that card in general, but the lucky draw does give us the Snarling Chains, which is just enough with the Gift of Bloodkin to finish off the Dragon player, which honestly I couldn't have asked for a better draw there. So while I had a few options that I could have drawn in that last game, I could have drawn an Vania, I could have drawn, I guess, Vampiric Fortress probably wouldn't have worked, honestly, so probably just a Vania. So I had a couple of options, maybe even another Talon Strike. I think I still had 1 more in the deck there, so they would have all been really good to be able to deal with the opponent for that final little bit of damage just to finish them off, but we did get the Snarling Chains, which was perfect, and it did end up giving us the win. So this deck, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, definitely not something I recommend you play unless you've already got the cards to build it. It isn't super expensive. I mean, you're running a handful of golds, well, maybe a little bit more than a handful, but you're only running a few golds and 1 legendary, which is a pretty reasonable deck overall. So if you do enjoy bats, you already have the cards to build it, and you want to try something a little different, I definitely recommend giving this a go. So if you did like the video, hit the like button and subscribe. You can find the deck list in the description below, and I'll catch you guys next time. See ya.